200-year-old setting of Huntly Castle in Aberdeenshire, the three men who lay claim to the title of the strongest man in the world meet to settle their argument. Jeff Capes from Lincolnshire in England, John Paul Sigmason from Reykjavik in Iceland, and Bill Kazmaier from Auburn, Alabama, USA. Three huge men, three enormously strong men, and in this first event that strength will be tested. The claymore, the traditional Scottish sword, weighing 15 pounds, and to put that in some perspective, Wallace's huge sword weighed only 12. And already Jeff Capes is struggling. Capes, the first to drop out. He will score only 1 point in this opening event, and it leaves Kazmaier and Sigmason to battle it out. Sigmason looking very confident. A smile around the lips, those glances towards Kazmaier. The American, huge man, is indeed beginning to waver. John Paul Sigmason wins event 1. John Paul Sigmason's triumphant cry, "There can be only one," summing up what this event is all about. Well, for the second test, as you can see, we've moved outside the castle for perhaps the most ancient test of strength of all, the manhood stones, one which was popular not only here in Scotland, but in most mountainous ranges in the world. Young men earned the right to wear an eagle's feather in their cap by lifting those heavy stones or boulders onto usually a low wall. And for this test, we're using the famous McGlashan stones, named after the stonemason who fashioned them almost 100 years ago. There are 3 of them, the lightest weighing 100 kilos, the middle one 110, and the biggest, a massive 120 kilos, that's more than 260 pounds. And we've asked the contestants not only to lift them, but to carry them over this roughly 35-yard course, and then drop them into this farm cart at the end of their travel. A very tough event indeed, and the first man to go is America's Bill. (6'2" and 23 stones of solid muscle, prepares to lift the first of the McGlashan stones. This is the one referred to around these parts as the wee one, and that, I can assure you, is only relative. Kazmaier gets it up onto the shoulder though. Difficult enough to lift these stones, but to actually carry them and then drop them into the farm cart really is a tremendous test of strength. 1 down, 2 to go, and Kazmaier jogs gently back for the second. Man with an astonishing list of previous occupations before he turned to full-time strength athletics. He's been an oil rig roughneck, a strip joint bouncer, an Alaskan lumberjack. He's played American football. And even now, when the money's right, he's known to wrestle professionally back in the States. Second of the McGlashan stones. You can see how much more difficult it is, and Kazmaier doesn't like that one at all. That's it. He's had enough. McGlashan gets the better of Kazmaier. Now he's coming back for a second chance. There's a time limit in this event, so you can drop the stones and relift. It's all extra effort. He's well within the time limit. Let's see how he fares this time with the second stone. 110 kilos. No, this time he has had enough. Legendary names of British track and field athletics. Arguably Britain's greatest field athlete of all time The man who has turned to these strongman competitions with such success over the last few years begins his assault on the McGlashan stones. The first one, as with Kazmaier, handled without too much difficulty. And the point where Kazmaier dropped the second is marked. And clearly, if Jeff can go beyond that point, he'll take the lead. Jeff now 37 from Holbeach in Lincolnshire. 2 Commonwealth Games titles as a shot putter. 6th and 5th in 2 Olympics. Superb athlete. He's looking good with this middle of the McGlashan stones. Over 240 pounds, remember. He's already gone beyond Kazmaier. Yes, it's in the cart. And that was an effort. Not just a strong man, of course. Jeff, as a youngster, he reached county standard in basketball and soccer and in cross-country running. And this is an event which demands more than just pure strength, despite the title of our program. So 2 down, 1 to go. Lots of time. He knows that he's at least in second place. This is the big one, though. The largest of those McGlashan stones. No question of this one going up onto the shoulder. Jeff adopting a different technique. No one thinks more about events than the big ex-policeman from Lincolnshire. He works it all out beforehand. But as you can see, that bandaged forearm preventing him completing that lift. Sigmason, the youngest of the 3 contestants, only 27, 6 foot 3 1/2, 22 stone. And as with Kazmaier and Capes, the first of the McGlashan stones handled without too much difficulty. In it goes, and back he comes for number 2. Sigmason, also an all-round sportsman, as a younger man. Played soccer and handball, he swam, he was a karate fighter for a while as a teenager. Good middle distance runner as well. And then he took to Olympic weightlifting before an elbow injury meant that he couldn't actually snatch properly. And from that point he turned to powerlifting, and that's what's brought him to this point today. The second of the McGlashan stones. Now, Capes got this one into the cart. And Sigmason do likewise. Yes, he does. So it all hinges on the last stone. And Sigmason certainly looks a little more relaxed, a little fresher than Jeff Capes did. And remember that all he has to do is carry the stone by whichever method further than Jeff Capes did, and he'll win a second event. And remember, he's already won the first. So this really would be throwing down the gauntlet to Kazmaier and to Capes. Is he going to try and get this up onto the shoulder? Encouragement, and yes, it's going up. How far can he take it? Over 250 pounds, solid stone, and he takes it only far enough to beat Capes. He had it all worked out. That's enough. No point in expending any extra effort, and that's 2 out of 2 for Sigmason. I don't want to thoughtful-looking Bill Kazmaier and Jeff Capes. On then to event 3, into more than half a ton of cannon, built in 1813, originally for the Napoleonic War, and brought to you from Culzean Castle in Ayrshire. That's more than 1,300 pounds, a quite staggering dead weight, which has to be pulled more than 50 feet up the slope behind me. Again, a timed event, and the first man to go is Jeff Capes. A very determined Jeff Capes, having seen John Paul Sigmarsson take each of the first 2 events. This is one which he really wants to score. Tremendous determination on the big Englishman's face. This, of course, an event which is not just about pure strength. There's a lot of rhythm and timing involved in this as well. Capes going well. Don't want to let that cannon slide back down the slope again, or the effort involved is even greater. But he's beginning to pull it off the mat. As you can see there, he's actually got it off the mat. It's come off to his right, and that increases the resistance. One more pull, not quite, over the line. Jeff very annoyed indeed. Just pulled it slightly off to the side, and that might have added just a second or two to his time. But 25.39, and we reckoned before the event that anything under 30 to 40 seconds would be very good indeed. So a good time for Capes. And John Paul Sigmarsson looks around him, psychs himself up, and off he goes. 25.39 to beat. Already, as you can see, the Icelander trying to get that rhythm going, trying to keep moving, trying to keep the cannon coming up. No stops if he can avoid them. Last agonizing few feet, so difficult, but this is a great pull by Sigmarsson. As soon as those rear wheels cross the line, the clock stops. Has he done it? He has, 23.11, so just a couple of seconds better than Capes. Sigmarsson has done it again. He's got the better of the Englishman, and only Bill Kazmaier can better that time now and prevent the Icelander making it 3 in a row. Great encouragement again for the American. Huge man, tremendously strong. 23.11 to beat. Oh, he's lost it though. He's lost it. The rhythm's gone. It's a dead weight with every pull. Every time he stops to pull, you'll notice the cannon just slides an inch or two forward. There it is. And that makes it so much more difficult. And he's not going to better Sigmarsson's time, or even Capes's. Oh, he's up on his feet now, trying to get the leverage. Kazmaier finding this much more difficult than his 2 opponents. Disappointing time for the American. And he's still got a couple of feet to go, and it's a real struggle. 45.86 for Bill Kazmaier, almost exactly double the time taken by Sigmarsson, who now makes it 3 wins out of 3. Can anyone stop the Icelander? Well, join us again after the break. The next event we have to look forward to is the caber toss. Hello, welcome back to Huntly Castle, where the events on this first afternoon of competition will be taking place, as you can see now, in warm sunshine, and that's brought a smile to everyone's face. No one's smiling more broadly, though, than John Paul Sigmarsson, leading the table on 9 points, 3 wins out of 3. Jeff Capes on 5, Bill Kazmaier on 4. Our next event, though, is tossing the caber, that image perhaps most closely associated with Scottish Highland Games. But it's not exclusively a Scottish event. It's taken place in Italy, in France and in Germany, and is still practiced in Sweden today. But its origins, as you might expect, are well lost in the mists of time. They talk of ye casting of ye bar back as the 16th century, and it's even said that Henry VIII wasn't averse to tossing the odd caber. Our caber, though, is 13'6" in length. It weighs almost as much as I do, and will be thrown for distance, not for style. That's the important thing to remember. And the first man to go is someone who's had some success at Scottish Highland Games in the past, tossing the caber. That's Jeff Capes. And this is an event in which Jeff Capes will certainly fancy his chances. He's now a very experienced Scottish Highland Games athlete, and a very successful one. And he knows a thing or two about tossing the caber. Not a bad throw for starters, although perhaps doesn't look delighted with it. Now let's see what John Paul Sigmarsson can do. He's only recently begun to take part in Highland Games, so he's beginning to get the hang of the caber, but I don't think his technique will be just quite as impressive as Capes is. Glorious setting for this event, of course, underneath the castle walls, where almost certainly they've been tossing cabers for hundreds of years. And John Paul having a few problems moving backwards for a while there, but he's got it now. And that's pretty close to Capes. Sigmarson's happy. And the throw is marked by the pointers bearing the tartans they're wearing, and Capes marginally ahead on the first throw. As we look down on this beautiful sunny afternoon. The lawns by Huntly Castle. There's been a castle here since the 12th century. Present one dating back a little less than that. Now, Bill Kazmaier, this fascinating character who takes such inspiration from his surroundings and indeed from pipe music. Also a less experienced caber tosser, so you see how much lower the head is. And he stops a long way short of the start point, still gets a good throw in, but that's some way short of the previous two efforts, and Bill has a bit more work to do with his second throw. As the tartan indicators, Capes in first place, Sigmarsson second, Kazmaier third after their opening efforts. And Jeff Capes, troubled a little by a neck injury he picked up with the McGlashan stones. Oh, didn't get a bounce at all. It dropped dead, and that was a little bit unlucky. And I don't think he's improved on his opening throw. Well, he has, but not by very much, just an inch or two. Bill Anderson, much respected character, a referee, marks the Capes throw. Now, Sigmarsson. Steady. And begin the run. Put a lot of effort into that one. Looks after it. I think he's still behind Capes. He is. And here's Bill Kazmaier, inspired by the sound of the pipes. Oh, that's a good one. That got a good bounce. And that could be enough to put Bill Kazmaier in front. Got a lot of momentum into that toss, and Bill Anderson marks the Kazmaier effort as the best to date. So Jeff Capes still nursing that neck injury a little, and his third attempt. Oh, and he didn't get a bounce again. Another good toss, but he's not getting any luck. That's stopped dead, and it's not as good as Kazmaier's. He is annoyed, and well might he be. He was a little bit unlucky there. Didn't get a slight bounce, which he needed to take him beyond Kazmaier's. Still lies second, though. John Paul Sigmarsson in third place. Man who works as a nightclub bouncer in Reykjavik at the weekends, spends the other 5 days training. Oh, that is the one. He got the bounce which Capes was looking for, and that has taken Sigmarsson into the lead. Bill Anderson moves the tartan marker. So now it's Kazmaier, having dropped to second place. You see the difference in technique. He hasn't quite mastered the upright stance, which you need to get maximum leverage on the caber. And as you can see quite clearly, that's not good enough. And John Paul Sigmarsson has done it again. 4 out of 4. 38 feet 8.5 for Kazmaier, 38 feet 7.5 for Capes. But Sigmarsson wins the caber, 39 feet 3.5 inches.
Now don't forget, we've already established 3 brand new world records in this championship for the Claymore lift, the cannon pull and the McGlashan stones. But this is the first chance the contestants will have to shatter an existing world record in another event with the Highland Games connection, throwing the 56-pound weight over the bar. Now, the Scottish Games record stands at 16 feet 9 1/4 inches. The current world record is 17 feet 2 inches. I wonder whether we might get close to that this afternoon. The Icelanders' third attempt at 16 feet 3. All three men opening up at 14.3. Really only a loosener for them and no problems at all. Up to 15.3, Sigmason and Kazmar over easily, but Jeff Cape surprisingly failing on his first attempt, getting it in the second. 15.9, all three over. And now at 16 feet 3, real problems for Sigmason, because this is his third attempt. If he doesn't get this one, then Sigmason is out of this particular event, and the sequence of Icelandic wins will be over. So an important one this for the Iceman. World record, remember, 17 feet 2. The bar at 16 feet 3. Sigmason has to get it. Oh, and easily. And that, in fact, just highlights the problem in technique Sigmason was having earlier on. He was getting the weight high enough, but couldn't get it far enough over his head to clear the bar. But this time, over by nearly a foot. And Kazmar, as he stretches the hamstrings and psychs himself up for his first attempt at 16 feet 3, has taken perhaps a little bit of a psychological advantage over John Paul Sigmason. Kazmar, no problems so far. This is his first attempt at the weight Sigmason has just cleared. The sound of the pipes, of course, tremendous inspiration to the American. In between events, goes off with his personal stereo and plays pipe music just to get himself in the right frame of mind. All that for a man from Alabama. No problems, and there's a lot more to come from Kazmar. Look to be at least 6 inches of daylight between the weight and the bar there, and Kazmar is enjoying himself. Not so Jeff Capes. It's an event in which he was really expected to do very well indeed, but he struggled at 15.3. Slap in the face from Jeff. Come on, let's get this one up in the air, he says. Very economical style. No problems for Capes. He's over at 16.3, and the bar will now go up to 16 feet 10 inches, and that's within just 4 inches of the world record set by Capes himself in Lagos, Nigeria, 1981. Next man to go, though, as you can see, the mighty American, Bill Kazmar. 16.10. Again, he's clearly over, no problem. Weight slightly off to the side, perhaps towards the crossbar, but no problems for height. And Kazmar throws down the gauntlet to the Iceman, John Paul Sigmason, the man who's dominating this competition. Tremendous effort. And he's pleased with that one after his problems 7 inches ago, if we can put it that way. No problems at all at 16.10. Jeff Capes, though, a disappointed man, because 3 failures at 16.10, 4 inches lower than his own world record, means that Capes is out, and this is now a 2-man competition. And that really is a bit of a surprise, because Capes is the most experienced of the 3 in this traditional Scottish Highland Games event. But Capes out, Bill Kazmar jogs towards the bar. This for a new world record, 17 feet and 3 inches, 1 inch higher than the old one set by Jeff Capes. Perhaps I should say the present one, he's not over yet, but he's looked so good and so confident. Everyone here fancies Kazmar's chances. Momentum in the bar, and it's over. It's made it. It struck the bar but crept over, and that is a new world record for Bill Kazmar. Not perhaps one for the purist, but he'll settle for it. And once again, he's out of the competition. This to equal the new world record. And he's made it. Again, he strikes the bar, but absolute delight from John Paul. And to think that at 16-3 he was in trouble. But this time, the tremendous fighting qualities, the Icelander shows through again. So up again goes the bar, 17 feet 6, and Bill Kazmaier, who hasn't yet had a failure at any height in the competition, set to increase his own world record. From the sound of the pipes, this traditional Scottish setting, underneath the castle walls here at Huntly. 17 feet 6, and he's over. What a tremendous performance, and isn't he delighted? He could be here for a long time yet. So, Sigmason, for the third time in the competition, has a final attempt at a height to stay in with Kazmaier. His second, healthy, encouraging him all the way. Come on, you can do it. Problems have not really been with height, it's been with technique. That weight has got to go up and back over the bar. John Paul's been getting it up in the air, and that's been dropping back down in front of the bar. It's an event of skill and technique as well as pure strength. Can he make it? No, not this time. So, for the first time, John Paul Sigmason is beaten. 3 failures at 17.6, and Bill Kazmaier has won the event, the 56-pound weight over the bar. And even though there's perhaps a degree of disappointment that he had 3 failures at 18 feet, he still wins the event and sets a new world record in the process. So to the final event on this first day of Pure Strength 87. The smoke from the campfires drifting among the trees on this glorious summer evening at Huntly Castle, this most beautiful of settings. The hoist, a short, sharp event to test tired muscles. And Sigmason first to go, lifting just under 200 pounds up towards the pulley wheel, and doing so with a time of 11.05 seconds, and that will take some beating. Bill Kazmaier starting off in the sitting position and immediately falling onto his back, and he's slower than Sigmason, struggling a little at the end. The white tape touches the pulley wheel, 14.89, and once again Kazmaier behind Sigmason. The log is placed across Jeff Capes. He sets off to try to better 11.05, and he's going well. This is going to be close for Capes. Just outside, 11.66, just slightly more than half a second worse than the Icelander, and Sigmason has done it again. Bill Kazmaier's efforts all in vain, as are those of Jeff Cape, still struggling a little with that neck injury. A brave effort by the Englishman, but it's John Paul Sigmason, the Viking, who has done it again. 5 wins out of 6. What a start. And welcome back to Pure Strength here at Huntly Castle in Aberdeenshire for the Budweiser Trophy. And the situation on this, the first event on the second day, is that John Paul Sigmason of Iceland is way out in front. 5 wins out of a possible 6, 17 points to Bill Kazmaier's 10 and Jeff Capes' 9. And we move into the log lift with Kazmaier first to go, and clearly a man who's very determined to cut back that lead of John Paul Sigmason's. There's a traditional weightlifting event using a log to which weights are added as the competition goes on. And tactics come in here a little bit as well, because you're allowed 6 lifts in total throughout the event. You choose the weights at which you want to lift. And Bill Kazmaier, as you saw there, no problems at all at 250 pounds. Really only a loosener. So tactics very important here as John Paul Sigmarsson attempts the same weight, because you can choose to miss a weight and allow your opponent to use up one of his 6 lifts. This particular event taking place high up on the castle walls, and Jeff Capes, who's not perhaps as ebullient as we've seen him this morning. He's been having a lot of trouble with a trapped nerve in his neck since the McGlashan Stones event yesterday, and he might find a few problems here. He's got it though. Jeff Capes showing a lot of courage. That must be hurting a great deal. So all 3 clear at 250 pounds. Bill Kazmaier first to go at 280. 30 pounds of weight added to the log. Kazmaier, who once again is off listening to the pipe music and the personal stereo between lifts. It's tremendous inspiration from it. As you can see, up it goes, no problems at 280. And John Paul Sigmarsson will now attempt that same weight. Interesting to watch Sigmarsson's technique here, because he did have an injury as a young man, well, young enough now, but when he was younger, and in fact doesn't have a complete lockout on the final part of the lift. You just watch. He doesn't quite get up as far, but Judge Bill Anderson is well aware of that and knows that that's as high as Sigmarsson can go. It signifies no less effort, and that's a good clean lift. So Jeff Capes to match the efforts of Kazmaier and Sigmarsson. 280 pounds. 20 stones.
Come on! Come on! Yeah! Easy! Get it done! Come on! Come on! Yeah!
Above the head. Oh, nope, that's a failure for Capes. And that might just be an indication that the injury is troubling him. So Jeff Capes out of the competition, and once again it's a 2-man event. And John Paul Sigmarsson next to go.
Come on, do it!
300 pounds.
Come on! Yeah!
He looks so comfortable, doesn't he? Looks so easy. So, Sigmarsson at 300, and here's the first indication of tactics, because Bill Kazmaier has elected to pass on 300 to save a lift for perhaps later in the competition, anticipating another very tight tussle with Sigmarsson, and he now moves on to 320 pounds. He's got to get it, of course. He's passed on 300. This Kazmaier at 320. And up she goes. Once again, he asks the question of John Paul Sigmarsson. And Sigmarsson too, as you can see, indulging in the tactical game. He decides to pass on 320, and he'll go straight to 340 pounds, thereby keeping him on the same number of lifts as his opponent. Get it first time. Onto the head. Got to stay steady. There's not a lot of room to move up there on the platform on the castle wall. Doesn't want to start staggering around, or it'll never go. But he's steadied. Yes, Bill Anderson says that's good. So a little bit of a struggle there for Sigmarsson, but he's got it at 340. And Bill Kazmaier, playing the tactical game, says, no, I'll leave it till 350. So, if he gets this one, he's 10 ahead of Sigmarsson, and they'll each have lifted 4 times. Encouragement as always from the seconds. Oh, Kazmaier working. And up she goes, and the first little smatter of applause, because that really was a great effort. So, John Paul Sigmarsson looking to better that as Kazmaier looks on in the background. 360 pounds up above his head. This Sigmundsson's 5th lift. If he gets this, he only has 1 left. But again, it's got to go on to the head. Look at those biceps. Tremendous power. Again, that right arm not quite locking out, but that's as far as it can physically go in his case. And is he ever delighted about that? 360 pounds. And Kazmaier does a bit of thinking, goes off, listens to the pipe music and decides he'll miss the 360 and go for 365. At these kind of weights, 5 pounds is a big difference. So 365. This will be Kazmaier's 5th lift. So he still has 1 on Sigmarsson. Great tactical battle, this. This is his 3rd attempt, so he can't afford to fail. If he drops this one, Sigmarsson has another win. He's getting it. Oh, it's gone.
What do we do to a balancing act on a wire?
Bill Kazmaier absolutely furious with himself. The tactical error, perhaps he elected to wait until 365. He had 2 failures and then the 3rd, which means that John Paul Sigmarsson has done it again. His last lift of 360 pounds, enough to win yet another event. So delight for Sigmarsson, fury for Kazmaier, and for Jeff Capes, nothing but black despair.
If you take my career, which has been 32 years, 22 of them been international athletes, and where I've never pulled out of a competition when I'm injured. And the last 10 years I've been competing in strongest man competitions all over the world against the same people I'm competing against today, and never ever pulled out of a competition. But I think it's important to say that probably this is the greatest competition that has ever took place, together with the 3 men. And these 3 men, myself included, Kazmaier and John Paul Sigmarsson, are the 3 greatest strongmen of all time.
So only 2 strong men remain in the hunt for the Budweiser Trophy. John Paul Sigmarsson and Bill Kazmaier. And at the moment, it's heavy odds on the Viking from Reykjavik. Tremendous display of strength, and Kazmaier knows he has a tremendous job to do. And this, of course, the wheelbarrow. The barrow, 300 kilos. The McGlashan stones, 440 kilos, together with some assorted weights. The total weight, 740 kilos, 1,628 pounds, 3/4 of a ton, which has to be pushed around this course in the cobbled courtyard of Huntly Castle. It's a timed event. John Paul Sigmarsson, steady, getting the barrow in motion and keeping it going, negotiating the corners. Strain showing in his face, and he has to take a rest. Asks for the time. Timekeeper, I think, confusing him a little with the answer. John Paul knows that he can afford to take a breather here. And the psyching up. The lift and push to the finishing line, and the barrow wheel stuck by a cobble there. It's not an easy course. One thing to push it over smooth tarmac or concrete, but these are cobbles to make it even more difficult. And Sigmarsson, despite all the encouragement, has to take another break, but he's up and off again. And over the line. And that was very impressive. Kazmaier in the background looks on, but doesn't smile. 1 minute. 27 seconds, and that was tough. Bill Anderson, the referee, sets off Bill Kazmaier. Resplendent in his kilt, incidentally the Scottish Commonwealth Games tartan, created for the 1986 event in Edinburgh. Kazmaier proud to wear it. Great fan of all things Scottish.
There's really something mystical about the pipes. You know, they say that it's the highest form that the human can produce through an instrument. And to me, it sends chills up and down my spine. If I close my eyes, it literally, a tear, and I'm sent 1,000 feet. Well, to tell the truth, I have a lot of dreams where I'm standing at the edge of a castle and I'm throwing heavy weights with barbs out into the crowds of rushing soldiers and things like that. But I'm not sure. Maybe a couple hundred years ago, I might have gone once around over here.
Deep breaths from Kazmaier. Psychs himself up. Come on, let's get this finished. Let's beat 127. The clock ticks on. 22-inch upper arms, 17-inch forearms. One of the most impressive physiques any of us have ever seen. But he's struggling a little bit again, and he has to take another stop. Just to continue on the theme of Bill Kazmaier's build, a 60-inch chest and a 40-inch waist. Huge man. 23 stones of solid muscle. And now he's off towards the finishing line, being encouraged every step of the way. But it's not enough. Another Herculean effort from the American. 1:41, 14 seconds behind Sigmarsson. And this astonishing Viking has done it yet again.
These are the heavy cartwheels we'll be using in event 9, the deadlift, with the thought now clearly in John Paul Sigmarsson's mind that not only can he win this title, but he can do so by taking 9 out of the 10 events, and that really would be an astonishing achievement.
And Sigmarsson first to go in the deadlift with the total weight of cartwheels and weight discs, 815 pounds, and lifted with the same ease you or I would pick up a holiday suitcase. Bill Kazmaier, 815 pounds. No problems either for Kazmaier, as indeed one would expect of former world powerlifting champion. The first man to bench press 300 kilos, which is the powerlifting equivalent of a 4-minute mile. So this could be a very good contest indeed. Kazmaier, slight favourite. But Sigmarsson here, as we've seen, is in quite immaculate condition. Oh, problem there. I think perhaps the binding on his wrist came loose, and Phil Anderson, I don't think, had given that as a fair lift. So in comes Hilty, the faithful second, and this time no problems. Little unwanted extra effort there from Sigmarsson. 925 pounds now the weight on the bar. Kazmaier, second man to go in this event, so he'll always be following Sigmarsson. And up it goes. And on goes another 50 pounds. We're now at 975 pounds. And John Paul Sigmarsson looks as if he has a lot more in reserve. Kazmaier seeking to match it. 975 pounds. Getting very close to world record for the deadlift. They go. They're both in form. And we're over the 1,000 pounds. 1,005 pounds. Ever the showman. He really is incredible. John Paul Sigmarsson. Quite obliging, friendly, to the point of being gentle away from competition, but what a showman on. And Kazmaier matches it. What a contest we have here. So up goes the weight this time to 1,047 pounds. We're getting very close indeed to a new deadlift world record, and that really is quite incredible in these circumstances. It's not a conventional bar. In fact, it's a rectangular lifting bar, as you can see. So that makes it even more difficult. This really will be a Herculean effort from Sigmarsson. He's got it. And Bill Anderson says drop. 1,047 pounds. What an astonishing performance. Once again, Bill Kazmaier has to try to match it. Struggle. He's got it. He's been given it as well. This is the event which Kazmaier began a firm favourite for, but Sigmarsson is lifting so well. So this is the world record lift. Another 30 pounds added to these groaning cartwheels. 1,077 pounds. No human being on the planet has ever lifted so much weight. And John Paul Sigmarsson could well be doing it this sunny afternoon at Huntly Castle. I think he's got it. Yes, he has. That is a new deadlift world record. 1,077 pounds. And he strolls off quite happily as if he does it every day of the week. Kazmaier to equal the new world record. And he's struggling. He hasn't got it.
What do you want, mate?
Bill Anderson says you didn't lock out. It's not a good lift. Kazmaier's going to have to try again.
Well, with that, you got it, and there'll be another day. All yours.
Kazmaier concedes, acknowledges the applause of an enthralled crowd. What a titanic battle that was, but Kazmaier has had enough. And John Paul Sigmarsson wants to go even higher. 1,153 pounds. It's up there. It's another good lift. We could be here all day. 1,153 pounds. He has shattered the world record. And he's going to win this trophy. Of that, there's no doubt. Bill Kazmaier is determined as ever to stop Sigmarsson making it 9 out of 10. Now, the technique's going to be very interesting here. How do you carry those stones? And as you can see, Bill Kazmaier has settled on a perhaps inelegant but very effective way of taking the smaller of the two over the bridge. Back he comes for the second. It's too heavy to adopt the same technique as the first, so it's a little hop, skip and a jump almost with this one. But he's going, he's got the rhythm, and that's important. As always, tremendous roars of encouragement from the entourage. And this is a good performance. This is a very good performance. There's no way Denny did both of those, says Bill.
Wind up! Come on, you! Wind up!
Now here's Sigmarsson, and as you can see, he's elected to lift it and carry it.
Wrong!
And it's slipping a little. It's hard to get a grip.
Wrong!
Going for the ring this time.
Come on, you! Wrong!
Over the shadows of the bridge here at Huntly Castle. Drops it over the line, but he's quite a little bit slower than Bill Kazmaier at this stage. He is really going to have to move very quickly with the heavier of the two. Remember, the total weight, 785 pounds. And Sigmarsson can really come up with nothing other than Kazmaier's method of getting that second stone over, and that means that Kazmaier is going to win this final event. John Paul's tactics wrong on the smaller of the two Denny stones, and Bill Kazmaier will win this final event in pure strength. John Paul Sigmarsson completes the course. Second this time, but he wins the trophy. And a quite glorious exhibition of pure strength.
Yeah! I something power!
And so, as we come to the end of Pure Strength 87, in Jeff Cape's words, the toughest test of strength ever devised, the 10 events